Hello folks, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about what everyone is talking about in these days, which is the FX2, which was released I believe 2 days ago, but then the rumor started already a couple of days ago and everyone was already talking about it, and there was a little bit of a chat behind the scenes from all the creators. But heads up, this video is going to be totally unscripted, so what will come out of it, I'm not sure. And I'm not gonna edit it either because I don't have time to edit it. I just want to put it out there, talk with my followers and my subscribers about this topic because I know that they are interested. Some of them asked me about it and if what my opinion is. So I thought it was good to do a video about it. So yeah, this is it. This is the video. And then I'm not gonna talk about this camera anymore because I feel it's unnecessary, really bringing bad and negative vibes out there. But I think it's really good to talk about biases. So another heads up, before we start this conversation, please take a minute, pause this video, breathe, take air in your mouth, wait 4 seconds and bring it out about 3 to 4 times, do the same exercise. And then try to reprogram your mind and cancel all the biases you have as a Lumix shooter or as a Sony shooter, especially if you're a Sony shooter here. And listen to the conversation first and then maybe judge, or don't judge at all, because this is my opinion. And my opinion is not God's opinion, it's not universal opinion. It's my opinion as an individual, as a camera enthusiast, and as a camera lover. Okay, so let's start by saying one thing. I have shot with the A7 IV, and my colleague actually uses the A7 IV on a daily basis while I use the Lumix S5IIX. So I've been using it together, those two cameras. I'm actually surprised why I have never done a video about it, but I've been using these two cameras tied together in projects for about a year or so, and I've learned to love the Sony A7 IV because it's an amazing camera, it's an amazing sensor, okay? And if it overheats, yes, it overheats. The A7 III didn't overheat. It has a different sensor, which is the same sensor we have here in the Lumix S5IIX. So that's a different discussion. That's a way lower megapixel, way lower data to transport, and it has way less things that the A7 IV has. So that's normal. But this is not the discussion. We are here to talk about the FX2, right? And I want you to ask yourself one question. If the FX2 was released by Lumix, yeah, so here's where I was talking about earlier, that just leave all your biases where they are, okay, and concentrate on this question that I'm asking now. If this camera was released by Lumix, how would half of the reviewers that have reviewed the FX2, how would they have reacted, or how would they have reviewed the camera, like things that they were said and stuff like that? I'm not gonna do names here because I don't think it's necessary to do names. I think it doesn't matter. But we all know and we have all seen how the bias with Sony creators work, right? Like as soon as Lumix releases a camera, there is an immediate bashing against the cameras. The only camera I've seen that have received some grace is the Lumix S1II, because there is nothing you can really hate about that camera, right? Except the price maybe, but that will be for another video. But all the cameras before, we have seen online so many creators from the Sony community bashing this camera down. Okay, so the the S1R Mark II has a bad rolling shutter, so it's a bad camera. It has overheating, so it's a bad camera. The S1IIE, it does not make sense because it's an older sensor. No matter how much technology advancement Lumix has been able to pack in that camera and in that 10 years old sensor, people still found a way to bash down those cameras. The S5 Mark II and the Mark IIX were bad cameras because they have bad rolling shutter. They're using an old sensor. They don't have 4K 60 uncropped. They don't have this, they don't have that. But then the FX2 comes out and it has the A74 sensor. Yeah, there's gonna be a little bit of on and off light because, well, the window is there and there is sun outside and clouds. So it comes out, and all the creator who bashed down previously the S5 Mark IIX, the S1 Mark IIe, the S1R Mark II, same creators now are praising this camera to be one of the most beautiful and interesting cameras that Sony has put out there. And I'm like, guys, are you serious? Like, the ports are not even protected. They are put outside the body, which means that they are not dust proof, is not waterproof, and it can really, if you don't treat it well, it can easily break on you. I'm not bashing Sony or anything, but those are things why camera bodies have ports, because we have dust, we have things that can get into those ports if you're not using them. I'm pretty sure there will be a company now that will create something to, block these ports through a cage or something like that. But nobody talked about this. Nobody. They were just focusing on the specs, on the body, and so on. And I'm like, even the EVF, which people have been aggressively talking bad about Lumix EVFs not being high resolution enough, especially in the S5 Mark II and the S5 Mark IIX. Some people were just even with the S1R Mark II, they were like, oh, the EVF still is not on par with Sony EVFs. And I'm like, yeah, but is it bad? Like, when you look through it, do you see a good image, a good representation of the image? Yes, that's what an EVF is. You don't need to have 9+ million dots of resolution on an EVF to be a good EVF, right? And we are using an older EVF, like it's the same that you have in the A74, is the same that you have in the S5 Mark IIX and the S5 Mark II, and I think it's the same that you actually had in the original A7 III. So yeah, but nobody said anything about it. They were all focusing on the fact that, oh, you can move it now. You can move it. Okay, cool. Yeah, you can move it up and down, but it's nothing new that we haven't never seen. Maybe in the FX lineup it's new, but at the same time, I'm so shocked on how these people were with this camera. Like, I went even back to rewatch some of the videos that these people have put out there on the Lumix cameras or the Nikon cameras, and I was just like, damn, people. It's really true that Sony has a really bias against all other manufacturers out there. Like, if a Sony camera comes out right now, the bad parts of the cameras are going to be cited, and the praise are going to be all about the new things. I was even having a conversation when one creator or YouTuber, I'm not going to do names because because I just don't want to put nobody in trouble. It doesn't make sense. I was having a conversation with one YouTuber. There are a couple of YouTubers, really big YouTubers, that I'm lucky enough to have the chance to talk to them now and then on Instagram or around the email and stuff. And I asked to this creator, for example, this question: if Lumix released this, what would have been the response of some of the reviews? And this YouTuber immediately told me, you know exactly what will have happened. And he's a Sony shooter, okay? He's a Sony shooter, but he's one of the few creators that actually have the balls to talk down, okay, to what Sony has just done. I'm not saying that the FX2 is a bad camera, guys. I'm not saying it. It's an amazing tool with a really... This is another thing, the price. Yeah, because this is one thing that pissed me off at one point, because everyone was talking about, oh, the price being right. And I'm like, there is the S1II that has similar price, or actually really close. I think it's $100 more. And people were like, oh no, this is too expensive. And not even one of these creators who was praising the cameras, because there are a couple of them who had the camera and didn't praise them. And I'm talking about the one that praised the camera. Well, okay, the painting just came down. Oh, Sony is chasing me. Oh, shit. Yeah, so there is one creator, or well, a couple of them, that actually said that this price, it's insane. It's not a good price for this camera. And I'm actually right there with them, because you can go and buy the A7 IV for 500 euros to 600 euros or dollars, because now euros and dollars are pretty close, thanks to the tariffs. We got you, US. Now you understand what it means for an European to buy cameras. Yeah. But now we know, like, the pricing there, it's so close that it's crazy that you have, well, that camera is way older, but the price is still there. Like, it hasn't really come down enough, because it's one of the toppest selling cameras, if not the even toppest selling camera that they have, the A7 IV. So the price is wrong for this camera. Sorry to say, you're paying Sony and FX lineup bonus price, because the price it's wrong. It's wrong. It's not the right price, because if the S1 Mark II is too expensive, and that's one reason why you should not get it according to many creators, then what is this? Why half of them didn't even mention this? And that's how nowadays it's so difficult to be a reviewer and to trust reviewers, because of how bad it is. Like, you can't trust nobody in this day and age, because they are just gonna be not biased, especially it comes to Sony creators, right? I love, because people like Armando, yeah, that I will mention his name, because okay, he has already came out and did a video about it, so I can mention him. But Armando Fuentes, I believe his name is, has said it straight. They even contacted him to send him the camera, and he said that he probably wouldn't have done a video about it, because it's not a camera that he is interested to, and it's too limited. It doesn't make sense in his brain, so he will not spend time in reviewing it. And one of the reasons why many of these Sony shooters didn't even receive the cameras is because they have become Lumix shooters, right? And it's interesting how these camera companies cannot be biased because you are shooting for another company to, I mean, they are not ambassadors, right? If you want them to be ambassadors, pay them to be ambassadors, right? but leave these creators free to do whatever they have to do. They have to live out of this. They have to work. But then some of them make it straight. Like some of them didn't receive the camera, right? But they still made a video to talk about it. And many of those people who didn't receive the camera but received the brief about this camera are people who started shooting with Lumix nowadays, because Lumix contacted them, Lumix gave them camera to test out and stuff like that. And apparently Sony is been taking this in the wrong way, because many of these creators didn't receive a camera. And then there are creators out there who received even camera from Lumix. I'm talking about Mati Hapoya, for example, which is one of my favorite YouTubers there. But sometimes I have to be sincere, you are not unbiased when it comes to Sony gear. He received the S5IIX and he never reviewed it. He just let it sit on the shelves and never review it. And in one video he even said it is not something that it interested him. So it's hard. It's really, really hard to trust anything about reviewers nowadays because of this. I have to say that the Lumix community, it's a bit different, because yes, there are people who get things for free, but at the same time, we have to understand that there are tools, right? And you have to give all the information is needed. And there are a lot of biases around there. But the one thing I will say is Sony doesn't have any bias. Like, people would just praise everything that Sony puts out there without saying nothing. But people would throw trash and hate at Lumix when they released amazing packed feature cameras without cutting anything out of them, and gives you a lot of firmware updates during the year, because the Lumix S5IIX still going to receive a firmware update soon, and is a 2-year-old camera, while Sony would not update your cameras or even risk to break your camera when you update them, or you will not receive any firmware update for years. Like the A7S III, you received the first firmware update I think 3 to 4 years after. Okay, it's a perfect camera, but it still has a lot of things that can improve and stuff. But hey, we're not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about the FX2 and the bias there is on Sony. I have talked a lot in this video. Probably half of it were just ranting, so forgive me about that, but I had to just get this out of my chest and talk to you about it. But thank you guys for being there for me and for the creative space that I have. Let's have a chat down below. Explain me how your feelings are, especially as a Lumix shooter. If you're a Lumix shooter or if you're a Sony shooter, what do you think? And yeah, like, I don't know. There is too much bias. There is too much shit going on there, and this is not fair to nobody. So people, just be straight, just be right, just be fair, and probably these companies will start realizing how better they can be too. Because as you call out Lumix for things that they do, call out Sony. Because now I think the only companies that I really trust are Nikon, Canon, and Lumix, and Fuji. Like every other company there except Sony, because Sony shooters are just kind of bullies. Somehow they are like bullies, but then when they receive cameras that are perfectly lower spec than compared to what Lumix, Nikon, or Canon will give you, they are still there, flexing their muscles and doing what? Like, come on guys, you're ridiculous. Just be right. I'm just not gonna do names, but we all know the people I'm talking about. We all see them. So yeah guys, thank you for hearing me ranting, and yeah, it's quite sad to see people when they do that. But stop bashing on the wrong companies and start calling out the right companies. I'm gonna see you in the next one. Take good care of yourself.